Hello my dear friends. In this video, we are going to discuss in detail about the nutrition as well as the photosynthesis. Coming to the nutrition, we have the two types of nutrition, that is autotrophs and heterotrophs. Auto means self, hetero means different. So coming to the autotrophs, organisms that use the sunlight, use the light energy from the sun to produce the food, which we also call it as producers. For example, plants, blue-green algae and some prokaryotes. Coming to the heterotrophs, organisms that obtain energy from the foods they consume, which we call it as consumers. Examples are animals, fungus, some of the prokaryotes and protists are comes under heterotrophs. So here we have the autotrophs picture and these are the heterotrophs. These are dependent on the other organisms for their food. Coming to the next, so let's see about photosynthesis. Photosynthesis, photo means light, synthesis means production. So with the use of light energy, the production takes place. So is a process by which the plants and some other organisms uses the light energy to convert the water and carbon dioxide into oxygen and carbohydrates such as glucose. The carbohydrates are nothing but glucose. Takes place inside the chloroplast. Photosynthesis is essentially the only mechanism of energy input into the living world. And coming to the inputs and outputs. So what is needed and what is being eliminated or not eliminated, what is being exhausted out. So coming to the needed or reactants, we need the light, water and carbon dioxide. For example, we need light energy. So we have to keep the plants in the sun as well as we have to pour the water. And the carbon dioxide will come from the air. And next, what is given off or the products? It will be sugars and oxygen. So the plant will emit oxygen. So sunlight, carbon dioxide and water, these are the inputs. Oxygen and glucose, these are the outputs or products. Coming to the formula of photosynthesis, we have 6 carbon dioxide molecules. Why 6 carbon dioxide molecules means the glucose is C6. So for the 6 carbon dioxide, for this 6 carbon, we need 6 carbon dioxide molecules plus 6 water molecules. So why we need 6 water molecules means for 6 oxygen and 12 hydrogen. So 6 CO2 plus 6 H2O gives rise to C6H12O6 plus 6O2. This is the formula of photosynthesis. So these are the inputs and finally it will become the products. So carbon dioxide plus water gives rise to sugar plus oxygen. And so again the picture of inputs and outputs. Along with the carbon dioxide and water, we need sunlight to conversion of this carbon dioxide and water into oxygen and glucose. Major steps in photosynthesis. We have the light dependent reactions, nothing but light reactions, and light independent reactions in which there is no need of any light, so which we also call it as dark reactions. One is light dependent reaction, which is majorly dependent on the sunlight. So because of that, those are light reactions. In light independent reactions, there is no need of any sunlight, so that is the dark reactions. Dark reactions use products from the light reactions. So initially the first phase of reaction is light reaction. Next only the dark reaction will take place. Both reactions will occur simultaneously, one after the other. First initially the light reaction, next the dark reaction. And next, first light reaction. What is the light reaction? Before going into the light reaction, we have to know the basic structure of chloroplast. Yes, so in many plastids, chloroplast is one of the plastid which contains the chlorophyll pigment. So plastids also can store the food and they can form the different plastids. For example, amyloplast, leucoplast. But chloroplast is different. So which will perform the photosynthesis because it has the chlorophyll pigment. So the chlorophyll pigment is green in color. So it never uses the green light at all. So it will reflect the green light. Because of that it is green in color. And this is the picture of chloroplast. We have the outer envelope and inner envelope. Between the outer envelope and inner envelope we have a space which we call it as intermembrane space. And these are the thylakoids. And these thylakoids are being arranged in a form of coins, stack of coins, which we call it as grana. And the space, whatever the space, remaining space, we call it as stroma. and the grana, one grana to the other grana is being connected as lamella in a form of plate like structure, which we call it, which is present inside the stroma. Because of that we call it as stroma lamella. So we have the grana lamella. So these are the grana, these are nothing but granas. So grana lamella will be connected from the grana to the inner membrane. So stroma lamella will be connected between the grana to the grana. So these are the structures. So once again, we have the outer envelope and inner envelope. So inside between the space between outer envelope and inner envelope, we call it as intermembrane space. And we have the thylakoid, and these thylakoid, many thylakoids together, we call it as grana. So like that we have the many grana. Each and every grana is being linked by stroma lamella, and the remaining space we call it as stroma. So stroma, and these are the thylakoids. So this is the single coin, we call it as thylakoid. And inside, if you cut this thylakoid, you will have a lumen, means empty space. So that we call it as thylakoid lumen. This whole stack of coins we call it as granum. So, and this is stroma lamella. Lamella is the connection from one granum to another granum. So we have to know the basic structure of chloroplast, then the light reactions will become very easy. So involves the excitation of chlorophyll pigments, takes place inside the chloroplast. These are the two things we have to know about the light reactions. And next, thylakoids are nothing but a sac-like photosynthetic membranes, grana stacks of thylakoid stroma region outside the thylakoid membrane. So these are the thylakoids which are very important for light reaction. So on the thylakoids only we have the chlorophyll pigments which are green in color. Coming to the light absorption of the chloroplast. So for the light dependent reaction, we need the light. So at that phase, what is going to happen? The chloroplast in the plant cells absorb the light energy from the sun during the light dependent reactions, because first reaction is light dependent, next only we will proceed to light independent reactions. Photosynthetic cells may have thousands of chloroplasts. So the chlorophylls and accessory pigments such as carotenoids functions to absorb the light. So the light capturing pigment in the grana are organized into photosystems. So in the thylakoid, on the thylakoid membrane, so for example, many stack of thylakoids together, we call it as granum. So in that stack of thylakoids, we are going to take one of the thylakoid. On that membrane of the thylakoid, we have the chlorophyll pigments. So all these chlorophyll pigments are organized in a form of photosystems. So coming to the chlorophyll. So the chlorophyll pigment, we have many chlorophyll pigments like chlorophyll A, chlorophyll B, and we have the carotenoids. So what is it, how it is going to absorb the light? This is the picture which is going to show us. So which absorbs the red and blue light more. So you can see you will have a highest peak at the red and blue only. So at the red and blue, we have the highest peak of graph. So all the chlorophyll A, chlorophyll B and carotenoids. So here itself at the red and blue region only you will have the highest peaks. And next, this is the absorption spectrum. So more amount of absorption is only taking place at red and blue lights. So chlorophyll will absorb the red and blue light and reflects the green light. So here we have the photons, nothing but the energy from the sunlight. It is going to hit the chlorophyll molecule and it is being emitted in a form of photon and heat. So the major principle of chlorophyll is absorption of red and blue light and reflecting of green light. Because of that it is green in color. So always the color of any object will determine about their reflection. Whatever the color it reflects, that the color we can able to see on that object. For example, if we have any pen of blue pen, means that is reflecting the blue light. That is the meaning of the color. So in this picture also it is been clear. So the light energy is been striking the chlorophyll and it is been reflect. Green is the light which is been reflected back. So we have many colors WibGR. Out of this, more amount of light is being absorbed is red and blue and the green is reflected. Coming to the energy transfer. So first, The light will hit the pigment molecules. So we have the antenna complex, like hitting one pigment and it will go to the another photosystem. So the pigments are arranged in a form of photosystem. We already have seen in the previous slide. So it is been hitting one pigment to the other pigment like an antenna complex. This whole we call it as antenna complex, and it will go to the reaction center. In the reactions, when hitting the reaction center, so the electrons will be donated to the reaction center, and from the reaction center this electron will be accepted by another one. So this is electron transfer system. And light dependent reactions, the main function of the light reaction is to generate the NADPH and ATP required for carbon reduction, nothing but adding hydrogen to the carbon for the formation of glucose. NADPH and ATP is generated through a series of reactions that constitute the photosynthetic electron transport chain. So water is split. So who will be the electron donor? Nothing but the water. So the water is split, giving off the oxygen and electrons. So the light is absorbed by the chlorophyll A, which excites now the electrons in the chlorophyll molecule. So in the chlorophyll molecule, the electrons will get excited. The electrons from the split water are passed through a series of carriers along the electron transport chain, and now the ATP is released. So some hydrogen from the split water are used to reduce the NADPH, nothing but nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide phosphate to nicotinamide adenine. So reduced nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide phosphate, nothing but adding of hydrogen, we call it as reduction. So this hydrogen is from water. And coming to the next, so ATP and NADPH, these are the two very important molecules for the reduction of carbon. So due to the for the formation of glucose, so how this is being produced? ATP and NADPH so stores the energy in their bonds. ATP loses a phosphate to become ADP and releases the energy, and NADPH loses a hydrogen to become NADP for releasing the energy, by releasing the energy. So both are being the energy compounds. So for these being stored the energy whenever it is needed, they will be, so the ATP will be transferred to ADP plus PI with energy release. NADPH is being transferred as NADPH, NADP plus H. So like this it is being reduced and the energy is being released. Photosynthetic electron transport chain. Coming to the key components, the two large multimolecular pigments are the protein complexes known as photosystem 1 and photosystem 2. In this picture we can able to see we have the photosystem 1 and photosystem 2. First is photosystem 2 and next is photosystem 1. In between we have a protein complex called cytochrome complex. So this is the cytochrome complex. We also call it a cytochrome B6F complex. So how the electrons is being transported from here to here means, initially the light is going to strike the chloroplast. First basically we are going to see the light is going to strike the plant. So inside the plant we have the cells, majorly for the leaves. Inside the leaves we have the mesophyll cells. Inside the mesophyll cells we have huge amount of chloroplast. So inside the chloroplast we have granum. On the granum we have thylakoids. So it is going to hit the thylakoid membrane. In the membrane we have the pigments, photosynthetic pigments. So the light is going to hit the chlorophyll pigment. So in this chlorophyll pigment, when it is get heated, so it will get excited. So when in an excitation state, the two water molecules is being splitted to form 4 hydrogen plus oxygen. So 4H plus O2. 4H plus O2. So from this 4 electrons is being transported to chlorophyll pigment. From here the 4 electrons is being transported to PQ and now again to PC, and from PC to the photosystem 1. From the photosystem 2 to photosystem 1, and from here the 4 electrons is being transported to CO2. So from here the CO2 is being reduced to CH2O, so which is a carbohydrate. So this will be prepared in stroma. So this is on the membrane, on the thylakoid membrane, this whole process. Initially we have the photosystem 2 and next photosystem 1. What happens in the photosystem 2 is when the light is going to hit the chlorophyll pigment, and from here the 4 electrons is being transported from here to photosystem 1, and where the 4 electrons is being given is from the water. So by splitting 2 molecules of water, we will get 4 protons plus oxygen. So the electrons is been 4 electrons is being transported to chlorophyll pigment from here to PQ, PQ to PC, and PQ it will go to cytochrome B6F complex. So these are PQ and PC are nothing but the transporters, mobile transporters, and from here it is transferred to photosystem 1, and photosystem from the photosystem 1 it is being given to the carbon dioxide. It is reduced as CH2O, which is a carbohydrate. This happens in stroma. The overall effect of electron transport chain. So the electrons is being transported from one photosystem 2 to photosystem 1. So that's because of that we call it as electron transport chain. These electrons are donated from water and it is being transferred to CO2. The overall effect of electron transport chain is to extract the low energy electrons from the water and using the light energy trapped by chlorophyll to increase their energy level and to finally produce a strong reductant, nothing but NADPH. Yes, once again, so the light energy is, which is being observed is P680. So this here we have again photosystem 2 and photosystem 1. The same whatever the picture you have seen in the previous slide, the same picture only here. So the hydrogen, so water which is being splitted to oxygen and protons. So from here electrons has been transported to PQ, and from PQ to cytochrome B6F, cytochrome B6F to PC, and from, so PC means nothing but plastocyanin, PQ means plastoquinone. Plastoquinone and plastocyanin are mobile transporters, and from plastocyanin will transport to PS1. So here again it is being striked by P700. So this is the wavelength of the light, P680 and P700. We can remind like the PS1 will have a higher energy, P700. The PS2 will have a lower energy, P680. From here the ferredoxin. So from the ferredoxin to, so it is being reduced as NADP plus H is gives rise to NADPH. Now the NADPH is being produced for high energy. And next, from here again these hydrogens, these protons is being transported to here. So with the ion gradient, with the increased concentration, it will go from the higher concentration to lower concentration. So from inside to outside. So in this process, the ADP plus PI is being, so this is ATP synthase. ADP plus PI is being converted to ATP. So finally, what we needed, NADPH plus ATP is being synthesized for the reduction of carbon dioxide. Finally. So initially this is the way for the synthesis of NADPH and ATP. So this is the light reaction. In the light reaction, NADPH and ATP are synthesized. Electrons are picked up by plastoquinone. Yes. So when the light strikes the chlorophyll, nothing but the photosystem 2. So what happens initially? So it takes the water, it splits the water, and the electrons is being transferred to photosystem 2. From the photosystem 2, it is being given to plastoquinone, which also picks up the hydrogen ions from the stroma and moves the electrons to cytochrome B6F while moving the H plus into the lumen. So plastocyanin moves the electrons to PS1 using the energy from the light. This electron will move to ferredoxin complex, which combines with NADP and H plus to form NADPH. Now the plastocyanin moves the electrons to PS1 using the energy from the light. This electrons is being moved to ferredoxin complex where it combines with NADP and H plus to form NADPH. So again the same picture. Okay, and this is one more picture, so which is going to explain about the electron transport chain. So higher energy, higher to lower. So how the lower to higher it is being converted. Initially the energy of the electrons is very low. it is being converted as higher. So 4 electrons, 4 photons, 4 photons which will hit the photosystem 2. So with a wavelength of P680, from here 4 electrons is been coming from the water. From here the 4 electrons will go to plastoquinone. So from the plastoquinone to cytochrome B6F complex. From the cytochrome B6F complex to PC, plastocyanin. From the plastocyanin to photosystem 1. So here again the high energy. So P700 is being hitted, and again the 4 photons, 4 electrons is being transported to for ferredoxin. From the ferredoxin to it is being NADP plus is being reduced as 2 NADPH. So at the end of light dependent reactions, we have ATP and NADPH. Oxygen is given off. So oxygen is been coming from water. So again, I'll show you how the oxygen will come off. So oxygen. So from here, the oxygen is been coming out. So the plants will emit the oxygen from here only. From the water, the plants will emit the oxygen. This is all about the light reaction. In the next video, we are going to see about light independent reaction or dark reaction. Okay, my dear friends, if you have any doubts related to the light dependent reaction, so please to put it in the comment box. I am there to answer all of your questions. Thank you very much.